Welcome to my podcast, Hot Mess Hate, where we do real talk about real things from the silly to the serious. So, welcome back. It's been a little while since I have done one of these recordings. There's been a lot going on in the world, and I didn't figure you guys wanted to hear my opinions about things that are going on in the world right now, so I kind of just didn't do a podcast for a little while. What I have been doing, though, is going to work regularly. And while I do my very not short commute, I listen to books. And recently I've been listening to the Divergent series. So if you haven't read these books or watched the movies, the Divergent series is a young adult book, because the books are what I'm talking about. I've never actually seen the movies now that I think about it. That might be a Netflix or wherever I can find them binge eventually. But anyway, they're about a society that is set up in 5 different factions. And each of these factions has a trait that they idolize, I guess, for lack of a better word. So these 5 factions in the Divergent series are abnegation, which they try to embody selflessness; erudite, who embodies intellectualism; dauntless, who tries to embody bravery; candor, which tries to embody honesty; and amity, which are the peaceful faction of the society. Every year, all of the 16-year-olds are tested in this society for their faction aptitude. And these tests usually will only show aptitude for one of the factions. Some folks get multiple faction results, and this is very frowned upon in the society, and these guys are labeled divergent. And most people in the society believe that divergent people, like having divergence, is a bad thing. And we didn't actually learn why until the very final book. And I'm not going to spoil it for you here. But this book is about the main character is Beatrice Pryor, who goes by Triss, who is born into abnegation. During her test is found to be divergent, and the person administering her test messed up her results or made them disappear and gave her a result for abnegation, which is where she was born. So after these folks are tested, they then have this choosing ceremony where they can go select the faction that they want to be adult members of. And Triss, rather than choosing abnegation where she was raised, chose dauntless. And she spends literally the rest of the first book trying to hide the fact that she is divergent, which is apparently much tougher in Dauntless than in any other faction. So over the course of the story, you're learning about the factions and what they're founded on. And you can kind of see that each of the factions have strayed from their original purpose a little. So abnegation is supposed to be selfless. They really have become almost the invisible members of society. Erudite, which is supposed to be the intellectuals, have become power hungry. You can see throughout this story that they've become power hungry, and it's concerning, right? Dauntless is supposed to be brave, and their members have really become reckless. They do reckless things. They jump off of buildings and they go ziplining, which I totally want to do someday. But they take reckless actions rather than brave actions. Candor, who is supposed to be honest, their members are blunt to the point of cruelty with their words. And amity, who are the peaceful people, have really become passive. So it's really interesting. The books are really a statement about the psychology of people. It's a very interesting read. So I recommend, even though they're supposed to be for young adults, that you go and read it if you haven't, or watch the movies, because I thought it was interesting. But throughout the listening to of the first book, the Divergent book, I really got to thinking about bravery and what that is. because you can see bravery in the actions of some of the characters from each of the factions as you're reading the book. But the faction that Triss chose, Dauntless, was founded on believing that bravery is the most important value. So that sent me to Webster. Okay, fine. What is bravery then? So Webster says that bravery is courageous behavior or character. Well, what the hell does that mean, right? So then I looked up courage, and Webster tells me that courage is the ability to do something that frightens you, or strength in the face of pain or grief. So the ability to do something that frightens you, right? Like just reading that, when I read that definition, I was like, bravery for you and bravery for me may not look the same. So there are a ton of things that terrify some people and not others, like flying or heights. Like some people, me, terrified of heights. Public speaking, that used to be a thing that scared the crap out of me. Standing up for yourself or standing up for others, that can be a thing that's hard to do, that you need courage to do. Some people are terrified of dogs. Other people are terrified of horses. So I mentioned the horses. Some of you know I volunteer at a horse rescue regularly, and I do it because I love working with the horses. It's it's easy for me to go and hang out with the horses and handle them or do groundwork with them. Totally not brave, but it might look like bravery to someone who's terrified of horses, I guess. The rescue I volunteer at has some volunteers who come literally every week who are not as at ease with the horses. There are actually a couple of folks who are actively terrified, yet they choose to come every single week to their feed shifts. And every single week they're terrified and they are confronting their fears. That is brave. Like, props to those people who know they're terrified and they do it anyway. That's awesome. So I think bravery is very unique to the person. And just because it doesn't look like bravery to you or me doesn't mean it wasn't. Thanks for listening.